Long ago, in the shadows of an imposing mountain range, rumors of untold riches began to swirl amongst the villagers. Whispers of colossal veins filled with diamonds that sparkled like the stars, gold that gleamed like the sun, and emeralds that glowed like their enchanted eyes. All of it igniting a frenzy of desire within their hearts. The tales of this treasure trove quickly grew to become more than mere tales, as they transformed into a promise of unimaginable wealth for hundreds of villagers. And so, very soon, the allure of those hidden gems drew over 100 villagers from far and wide, their hearts aflame with greed, and their footsteps echoing with eager anticipation as they ascended the rugged slopes of that mountain range. The first glimmers of fortune began to reveal themselves. Glistening minerals peeked out from the very stone of the mountains, confirming the rumors that had set their hopes alight. And so all the villagers began to dig feverishly, their shovels striking the ground with a deafening chorus of desire. And very soon, riches began to flow like an unending river, and the villagers became obsessed with their newfound wealth. Their homes, once humble, now glittered in the bounty of their hard-earned spoils. Word spread like wildfire, and distant villages were soon filled with the tales of the newfound paradise that awaited those who were daring enough to venture within that mountain range. As the whispers of the riches spread far and wide, thousands of villagers converged upon that mountain range, each one drawn by the call of the hidden treasures. The mountains, once silent slopes, were now alive with the fevered hustle and bustle of their eager arrival. They came with their picks and shovels, their lanterns and torches, a relentless army of dreamers ready to unearth the fabled wealth. Mineshafts quickly multiplied like veins in the earth, spreading like a network of roots in their quest for the priceless gems that lay hidden beneath the stone. The mountains echoed with the ceaseless sound of pickaxes striking the rock, like a colossal heart beating with anticipation. Thousands of villagers toiled deep within the labyrinth passages of those mines, their faces smeared with sweat and dirt, while their eyes gleamed with the promise of a better life. Now, the network of mines expanded faster than anyone could have imagined, weaving a subterranean tapestry of ambition, greed, and determination. Mineshafts crossed each other like intricate mazes, a testament to the villagers' insatiable thirst for riches. The underground homes that they had built became a world of its own, illuminated by the eerie glow of emerald and diamond walls. Precious ores seemed to be their very lifeblood, and the wealth that they extracted flowed rather quickly, filling the villagers' hearts with a sense of accomplishment that they had never known. With every haul of treasures, the miners' joy grew further, and their lives transformed. The villagers reveled in their newfound affluence, were blissfully unaware of the ominous undercurrents that lay beneath their successes. As, on one sunny morning, as the miners tirelessly delved deeper into the earth's heart, an unsettling tremor rippled through the lower mines in the south of those caves. Now, at first, it felt like a gentle rumble, a mere inconvenience. But it swiftly escalated into a violent, earth-shattering quake that reverberated through the hearts of those villagers. Panic and chaos erupted as the very foundation of their ambitions crumbled before their eyes. Minor screams filled the cavernous tunnels, mingling with the echo of falling debris. The cave walls splintered and fractured, rocks and stones tumbled from above, and the ground quaked with an unrelenting fury. The miners, trapped beneath the crumbling world, fought to escape the encroaching disaster. The echoing, haunting screams grew louder with each passing second, as hundreds of villagers found themselves pinned beneath the unforgiving weight of collapsing rock, their bodies battered and broken. In a desperate frenzy, those who were not yet ensnared in that chaos ran for their lives. Fortune favoured the fleet, and many managed to scramble to safety, just barely avoiding the cataclysmic cascade of destruction that followed. But within the core of those caves, an unsettling truth remained. A significant number of villagers were still trapped, their lives hanging by the tiniest of threads. The survivors looked back at the cavern's exit, their hearts heavy with dread. This was a disaster of unparalleled proportions, one that would shake the very foundations of their newfound prosperity, and would change the course of their lives forever. The once thriving village, now plunged into darkness, overshadowed by the impending tragedy that awaited those who remained trapped in those dark depths. And so, with time rapidly slipping away, a valiant search party was hastily assembled, and together they plunged back into the treacherous depths of those mines. TNT sticks, like desperate candles in the encroaching darkness, were used to blast through those unyielding walls, releasing an explosive chorus that rocked the very core of that mountain. The villagers knew that they were risking the structural integrity of those caves, but still, they pressed on, for the lives of their fellow villagers hung in their hands. The relentless ticking of the clock, as fissures and cracks spread like cobwebs across the cave walls, only fueled their determination. They had to reach them, no matter the cost, and time was of the essence. In a matter of tense hours, they reached the trapped villagers, whom had been stranded in the heart of the mountain. And with strength and unity, born of a dire necessity, they rescued them, guiding them back to the surface, their faces drawn with exhaustion and relief. But as they counted heads and tended to the injured, there was an unmistakable void, an absence that chilled the very air. One villager was missing, and there was no denying it. The young minecart operator, known as Subscribey, was nowhere to be found, and so they knew that he had been left behind in the crumbling catacombs. The very thought of his fate sent shivers down their spines. Despair settled upon the village as the grim reality weighed upon their hearts. As far as they knew, Subscribey was lost to them, forever entombed in the heart of that mountain, in the face of this tragedy, a somber decision was made. The village had reaped its wealth, but the cost had been unbearably high. The once thriving community, now shadowed by sorrow, agreed to abandon the village that had been both their salvation and their curse, as those mines would likely be unstable for the next few thousand years, and none of them wanted to risk another casualty. And so, with heavy hearts and riches in tow, they left their once prosperous heaven. The riches they had sought, now overshadowed by the haunting memory of the lost soul they had been forced to leave behind. But then, once all those villagers had departed, nature began to reclaim the land that they had once dominated. The forest, relentless and patient, stealthily encroached upon the now deserted village. Vines snaked their way up the skeletal remains of their abandoned homes. Moss and lichen painted the stones with an emerald hue, and the lush canopy of that forest extended its shadowy embrace over those forsaken lands. Now, generations passed, and the memory of those mines, with its treasure and its sorrow, faded into legend. The stories of the cursed village and the lost souls who had ventured into the depths of those mountains became tales whispered around campfires, cautionary parables told to the young villagers who would shiver at the thought of the overworld's hidden secrets. And so, in a distant village, many thousands of years later, a group of 5 villagers gathered around a flickering fire, and soon the tales of that cursed mine and the lost souls that had lingered within reached their ears. And that ignited a burning curiosity that refused to be extinguished within their souls. However, they knew that the journey into those forsaken depths was not one to be taken lightly, and so they knew that they wouldn't be able to embark on that perilous adventure alone. And so, with a resolute determination, they decided to seek out a hero, a champion of the world, someone who had faced the unknown numerous times and had emerged victorious every time. There was only one being who fit that criteria. It was the Steve. And so, with their horses prepared and the knowledge of their quest etched upon their hearts, they set forth on a journey to find the legendary Steve. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, wavering shadows that stretched across the land, they galloped towards the hero's humble abode. Arriving at Steve's home, they quickly shared the tales of that mine and the legends that clung to it. The hero listened, his eyes reflecting the torchlight's flicker. He understood the gravity of the task ahead, the secrets and the dangers that lay awaiting him, and the villagers' silent plea for redemption and a burning sense of curiosity all worked together as Steve nodded his head in agreement with this mission. And together, they mounted their trusty steeds and rode off into the fading light of the sunset, heading towards the ruins of the cursed mine. Their hearts filled with hope and apprehension, ready to confront the shadows of the past unrest and the unknown terrors that awaited them in those forsaken caves. The group of adventurers arrived at the location where the mines should have stood, their eyes scanning the surroundings with a mixture of anticipation and excitement. The once thriving village had long been claimed by the encroaching forest, the remnants of their dreams swallowed by nature's relentless advances. And as the last rays of daylight surrendered to the encroaching shadows, the forest grew eerily quiet. Steve, the experienced leader, reached for his torch, igniting a beam of light that pierced the encroaching darkness. And there, shrouded in the inky blackness and hidden behind one of the mighty oak trees, they discovered the entrance to those mines. It was a grim sight, decayed and in ruins. An entrance into the abyss of this world. And although the structure had crumbled over the years, there still remained enough space for the villagers and the Steve to squeeze through, beckoning them with the promise of long-buried secrets and confronting the unknown. With their torches held high, the brave adventurers ventured into the enigmatic depths of that cave, their footsteps echoing through the forgotten passages, pounding with fear and anticipation. The very air seemed to thicken with an eerie chill as they began with their journey into the heart of those dark and evil mines, where untold mysteries and untold horrors awaited them in their cavernous depths. As the villagers delved further into those mines, their torchlight casting eerie shadows on the damp stone walls. The air grew heavy with suspense, and the echoes of distant sounds hinted at the ancient secrets concealed within the world's cavernous expanse. Their footsteps led them to a chest hidden in the shadows, its contents a relic from a bygone era. It held a set of stone armor, too heavy for the villagers to wear. And so, with respect to the hero aiding them in this adventure, they handed it over to the Steve, knowing that it would find its true purpose in the hands of that mighty hero. But still, despite that, the group pushed deeper into those ominous depths, the haunting sounds growing louder, a symphony of echoing whispers and distant clatters. They were scared, but still, they pressed on. After all, this was all part of their adventure, and the promise of uncovering untold history beckoned them even deeper. And their persistence was rewarded, as they rather quickly unearthed the remnants of a long-forgotten age. They found ancient mining equipment still buried beneath the layers of time and dirt. The rusted pickaxes and the worn carts were a testament to the miners who had worked here thousands of years ago. But their journey did not end there, as they continued to venture even deeper. And again, they stumbled upon some marvelous history, as they found the remnants of an underground dwelling, the miners' humble abodes, where they likely would have rested between their grueling shifts at the mines. The ruins held the stories of countless lives, etched into the very walls of the earth. The villagers marveled at the echoes of the past. It was just so intriguing to see the generation of laborers who had toiled in this unforgiving mine. And yet, their exploration pressed on, with Steve forging ahead with a renewed sense of adventure. Each step brought them closer to the heart of that mountain, and as they ventured deeper into the inky abyss, the shadows of the past whispered their secrets, calling them to discover what lay hidden in the heart of that mine. But amidst the eerie silence of the mines, Steve's concentration was suddenly shattered by the harrowing sound of the villagers' screams. His heart pounding, he whirled his head around just in time to witness a malevolent crimson flash. It was a pair of eyes, but those eyes held no trace of this world, and they certainly didn't belong to any of the villagers. A surge of dread and adrenaline coursed through Steve's veins as he sprinted towards the source of the agony. But the horrifying truth that awaited him was a nightmare. The villagers lay motionless on the cold stone floor. Their lives had been cruelly ended by some malevolent force. Steve's throat tightened and a sense of fear washed over him as the cavern's walls seemed to close in all around him. In the gloom, an evil laughter echoed, a sinister voice that sent shivers down his spine. From the shadows, a brief glimpse of those malevolent red eyes taunted him, and he now knew that he was not alone in the suffocating darkness. The hero's instincts screamed at him to flee this place, but his unwavering determination compelled him to confront the malevolent force lurking within these demonic mines. The stakes had been raised, and the hero's path was now covered in the ominous presence of a malevolent adversary. With his sword clutched tightly in one hand, he was ready for any of the lurking threats, and with his torch held high in the other, Steve ventured further into the heart of those dark mines. Hours stretched on, his footsteps echoing in the oppressive silence of the caverns as he scoured for an escape route. The cool, damp air and the flickering torchlight cast eerie shadows that seemed to dance with malevolence, keeping him on edge. For quite some time, the path seemed uneventful, with nothing to note but the gloomy expanse of the mines. Yet, an unshakable feeling of unease lingered. It was as though the very rock held its breath, waiting for something to stir within the demonic depths of those caves. But still, Steve's determination remained unwavering, for he knew that the malevolent force that had taken the lives of those villagers was still out there, lurking in the shadows, biding its time. And as he continued his descent into the abyss, Steve couldn't shake the chilling sensation that he was not alone, and that the true horrors of these forsaken mines were yet to reveal themselves. But as Steve journeyed deeper into those mines. The deafening silence was shattered by the heart-wrenching sound of distant screams. His heart pounded with urgency, his instincts driving him to sprint towards the desperate cries that echoed through the dark passages. With every stride, the screams grew louder, more agonized, yet as abruptly as they had begun, they vanished into the abyss, leaving Steve bewildered and standing alone once more. The oppressive darkness bore upon him, and a cold shiver danced through his spine. He was surrounded by an unsettling solitude. The absence of his companions and the source of those tortured cries haunted his thoughts. But in that solitude, as his mind raced to make sense of what he had experienced, he once again caught a glimpse of those malevolent crimson eyes in the peripheries of his vision. Oh no, that can't be good. Without hesitation, Steve lunged at the malevolent presence, his sword poised to strike. But before he could make contact, the very ceiling above him gave way, the crashing debris separating him from those enigmatic, glowing eyes, leaving him once again alone and isolated within the treacherous depths of those caves. But as Steve stood amidst the rubble, catching his breath and collecting his thoughts, the very foundation of that cave quaked ominously. The ground beneath him trembled violently, and a chill of dread surged through his veins. The mine was collapsing, and there was no time to lose. And so, with every ounce of strength that he could muster, Steve began to sprint through those tunnels, choosing random directions in his frantic escape. Debris rained down around him, echoing the chaos of the world as it crumbled. But after an agonizing stretch of time, he burst into a vast, dimly lit cavern, gasping for breath. This newfound expanse was colossal, but its depths were shrouded in an impenetrable darkness. The air was heavy, charged with an eerie stillness. His only company within that cavern was a solitary pool of lava, its fiery glow illuminating the surroundings with an otherworldly and sinister light. With measured steps, Steve approached that pool of molten rock, the shimmering surface reflecting an abyss of searing heat. The hiss and crackle of that lava provided an unsettling symphony in the heart of that ominous adventure. The allure of the fiery abyss was hypnotic, and Steve couldn't help but to be drawn closer. His thoughts filled with questions as he contemplated the mysteries that lay within the depths of this mine. But as Steve approached the eerie pool of lava, he began to hear a strange noise emanating from its molten depths. The heat was oppressive, and the sounds grew louder with every step that he took, luring him closer to the searing edge of that pool. One more step, and he now stood on the brink of that fiery abyss. The enigmatic sounds resonated more clearly now, an eerie symphony of unknown forces at play. An unexplainable force seemed to take hold, propelling him closer to the edge. But then the ground crumbled beneath him, and with a gasp of disbelief, he found himself plummeting into the burning lava. The pain was unimaginable, as his body was consumed by the merciless inferno, every inch of his being engulfed in the excruciating torment of fiery death. He writhed and convulsed, his flesh searing and melting before his very eyes. In those desperate moments, as his vision blurred and the searing agony threatened to consume him, an unexpected miracle occurred. A stream of water cascaded down from the heavens, a divine intervention that extinguished the flames and ended his torment. The water covered Steve, the magical liquid, healing his charred form, knitting his wounds, and rejuvenating his battered body. A sense of profound relief washed over him, and he knew that he had just been saved by an otherworldly force. But as he stood there, a burning desire to uncover the origins of this magical stream welled up within him, and without hesitation, he began to swim up that water, determined to follow its source to the very end. But as he ascended the stream, it led him to an unexpected and eerie discovery. Emerging from the water's embrace, Steve found himself in a small, mossy cobblestone dungeon. Its entrance sealed tight, but then panic clawed at him as the water began to drain away, leaving him with no means of escape. Resigned to his fate, he entered the dungeon, his footsteps echoing ominously in the dimly lit stone chamber. But as he ventured into the heart of that dungeon, his approach triggered an ominous awakening. A malevolent spawner burst to life, an arcane device that breathed unholy life into hundreds of zombies and skeletons. The cavernous dungeon was quickly transformed into a nightmarish battlefield as the undead horde descended upon Steve. The clash was fierce and unrelenting, the hero fighting valiantly against the relentless tide of these demonic foes. His sword clear through the ranks of the undead, but the odds were stacked impossibly against him. Steve's strength waned as he fought on, his vision blurred with exhaustion and desperation. The relentless onslaught proved too much, and he found himself on the brink of death. The echoes of his battle cries fading into the abyss. It seemed as if he had reached the end of his journey. He had no way out, and the relentless horde were closing in. The weight of despair pressed heavily upon him. He gasped for breath. His strength was failing him, when suddenly, in the corner of his eye, a gleam of gold caught his attention. It was a notch apple that lay nestled amidst the cobblestone, its radiant aura a stark contrast to the grim surroundings. With a surge of determination, Steve lunged towards the magical notch apple, its glow growing brighter as he drew near. But as he did so, a haunting and demonic voice emanated from the artifacts, whispering a threat.
If you eat this, you must free me, or else.
Hesitation lingered in the air, but with no other options remaining for him, Steve grabbed the golden apple and he took a deep breath before devouring it. In an instant, he was flooded with an overwhelming burst of power and strength. His wounds mended, his energy restored, and he felt as though he had been reborn. With newfound strength, Steve fought back the remaining undead monsters with a ferocity that they were unable to match. His sword danced through the shadows, and the air rung with the triumphant cries of a hero who would defy death itself. And as the last unholy horde crumbled to dust, Steve stood there, victorious amidst the ruins of the dungeon, his heart pounding with a profound sense of awe and invincibility. The magical golden apple had not only saved him, but had elevated him to a level of power that he could have never imagined. But then, an enchanted red glass fell from the heavens, its eerie crimson glow casting an ominous aura. The voice echoed once more, and the words etched into Steve's very soul.
Take this and place it into the portal, and then our agreement shall be complete. But fail me, and you shall be cursed for an eternity with no escape. You will suffer.
The chilling threat sent shivers down Steve's spine. His determination was now tainted by the fear of an eternal curse. But he had already committed himself to this enigmatic agreement, and the cost of betrayal was too dreadful to contemplate. With trembling hands, he reached out and picked up the sinister glass, feeling the pulse of malevolence coursing through it. The evil that emanated from that object sent a shiver down his spine, but he pushed aside his fear, determined to honor his word. But as he held the cursed glass, an eerie question loomed in his mind. Where would he find the portal to complete his ominous agreement? But before he could unravel this mystery, that dungeon began to shake and convulse, and then a doorway into the unknown materialized before him. The dark tunnel stretched ahead, its inky depths veiled in shadow and mystery. But still, Steve ventured into its embrace, his every step echoing with an eerie resonance. The walls, cloaked in the oppressive silence, bore the marks of time, their stone surfaces etched with ancient secrets. Now, he followed the twisting tunnel for hours, a journey of uncertainty and dread, with it finally leading him into an ancient city, its long-forgotten architecture looming like an ominous shadow from a bygone era. Steve's heart quickened as he entered this forsaken place, the air thick with history, and the deep slate streets laden with the echoes of ages past. As he stealthily made his way across the city, his every footfall seemed to resonate like thunder in the profound silence. Even still, he couldn't help but stumble on the uneven path, his heart skipping a beat as he stood off the carpeted floor. But very quickly, he regained his composure and continued his stealthy journey through the haunted city. The The mission weighed heavily on his shoulders, a shadow of fear tugging at the corners of his resolve. But the promise he had made held firm, and with unwavering determination, he reached the portal. And then he placed the cursed glass into the center of it, and with that, a tremor in the ground was activated, and with a flash of light, the glass vanished, and then everything went black. When Steve opened his eyes, he realized that somehow he had been abruptly transported back to his home. The abruptness of his return left him bewildered and disoriented. This strange experience had added yet another layer to his collection of extraordinary adventures. And so, it was at that moment that he carefully gathered the stone armor from his inventory and placed it in a special box, a relic of this eerie journey into the heart of the past. And then, as he closed the lid, the stone armor joined the many other mementos of his daring exploits, a testament to his courage and to the countless mysteries he had unraveled within the world of Minecraft. However, the story wasn't over just yet, and so to learn what happened next, you'll need to watch this video.